Tonight, ambush at the Electoral Commission as opposition NDC and its allies walk out of latest IPAC meeting called to deal with controversial voters register debate.
Electoral Commission is engaged in a charade consultation. They pretend to be consulting you when they are not consulting you. We can no longer continue to be ambushed into meetings because it is an issue we raise even.
Also tonight, inter-party coalition against new voters register criticized former President Kufuor for asking them to resort to the Supreme Court for redress over the controversy. We have the details for you here on Top Story.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, also brought to you by Gassen, Cement the Nation Build, and Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready. The opposition National Democratic Congress and its allies are tonight accusing the Electoral Commission of ambush, walking out of the latest inter-party advisory committee meeting called to deliberate over the controversial new voters register debate. According to the NDC, the commission is not working according to the agreement reached with the Committee of Eminent Persons. The General Secretary of the party, John Nketia, has been speaking today about this latest walkout. We'll also be hearing from the inter-party resistance against the new voters register, who are tonight taking on former President Kufuor for his recent comments on this controversial matter. Listen to Nketia.
There was supposed to be a meeting today, and we believe that the agreements we reached at the meeting with the Committee of Eminent Persons was to the effect that they will continue engaging us, and the Electoral Commission should continue engaging the technical persons of the political parties on the technical issues relative to whether we needed a new register or not. So we're all expectant that we will now meet the Electoral Commission and to investigate whether we should do a new register or not based on sound technical reasons. We had a letter some 3 days ago that our technical persons were expected to meet the Electoral Commission this morning. In fact, without any agenda. So we had to write back to them that we can no longer continue to be ambushed into meetings because it is an issue we raise even with the Council of Eminent Persons, that Electoral Commission is engaged in a charade of consultation. They pretend to be consulting you when they are not consulting you. So how can you ambush us into a meeting? You call it, what do you call it? Emergency meeting. About half of their meetings have all been emergency meetings. What is emergency about? Stakeholders sitting together to decide whether there ought to be a new register or not. We didn't think that such a major thing should be an emergency thing. And we also complain about being ambushed into IPAC meetings without any agenda. So you are given the agenda whilst you are sitting there. So when we received this invitation, we wrote back to them that we wanted to understand the nature of the meeting that you want us to be part of. And if you are calling technical people, the invitation to technical people must emanate from a decision by the decision makers within the front of the stakeholders.
Well, that is John Nketia today. Well, the NDC is part of a coalition. They call themselves the Inter-Party Resistance Against the New Voters Register. They are tonight also lashing out at the former President John Kufuor, for asking them to seek redress at the Supreme Court instead of hitting the street to demonstrate. Well, the coalition accused the former president of being disingenuous. Spokesperson for the coalition and chairman of PNC, Bernard Mona, described former President Kufuor's comments as inimical to the stability of the country's democracy. We'll hear from him shortly, but first listen to the former president who cautioned the group against the use of militancy.
Anything done outside the constitutional procedure, I believe, would run counter to the wishes of the people generally. So welcome, I've heard you, and I would say I believe the people generally would accept the Electoral Commission's guidance and operations through the processes of the registration and also the electoral procedure. So this is what I have to say now, and I would urge anybody who feels so very strongly about what's happening and who feels the Electoral Commission is not getting it right to take out militancy. You don't try to occupy the Electoral Commission just because you do not see that is doing its work the way you think it should do it. You do that, then you are running counter to the Constitution, running against the grain of the people's commitment to uphold and sustain the rule of law. So this is what I would have to say now, and I hope Ghana will be guided by the spirit and letter of the Constitution. Thank you.
Well, it appears those comments did not go down well with the resistance. Listen to Bernard Mona, who is disappointed with former President Kufuor's comments. He spoke to my colleague, Parker Wilson.
President Kufuor led us through the Kumipreku demonstrations. He didn't know the road to the courts. Or is it not in Chapter 5 of the Constitution, Article 21D, fundamental human rights, that says that we have rights to demonstrate? So if there are constitutional processes, going on demonstration is also granted in the Constitution, boss.
Yeah, but it appears your demonstration and all, I mean, as I mentioned, it's not yielding the result that you want.
Many more manifestations. Wait till we unveil those other strategies.
But are you going to heed the calls of the former president to go to court?
There are options available to us.
No, but he says go to court. Are you going to go to court?
It is a suggestion. Remember that we went to the former president, and the former president did not grant the media interview. He did not tell the media anything after we left him. But if he chose yesterday that he would speak after another group had come to him, we wish him well.
But you think he's convinced with your position?
I said that is your...
No, but what's your own personal assessment? Did he buy into your argument as far as the compilation of a register?
He presented our case to the former president. He didn't give us any impression that he did not understand that. He only made an appeal that in view of the development, he will rather not speak immediately. He did not respond to us because we presented to him a petition cataloging a number of things. We have not received any response from him. So I will not take your conclusion.
No, but he was clear that all the parties who do not support the idea of a new register should go to court. And demonstration is not the way to go.
I'm saying that President Kufuor led people to demonstrations. Those demonstrations, some of them led to people's lives lost. Ahuni Honga and many others. So President Kufuor knows that demonstration is part of our constitutional and fundamental human rights.
So would you say you are disappointed with this response, sir?
I hold him in esteem, but if he says something that will be inimical to the stability that he handed over as president for 8 years, and we have brought an issue to you, and you have listened to us, and another group come to you, and you decide that you go and respond and say that we don't have a case, it means that President Kufuor probably doesn't deserve the honor and recognition we have given him.
How is this comment inimical to the stability that he handed over? I mean, he says go to court, and it's as simple as that. Let the law work.
Have I not told you that there is an option to go to court in our constitution?
And you heard the national chairman of the PNC, Mr. Bernard Mona. On the phone right now is Dr. Kwabena Osei Dubofo. He speaks for the former president. Doc, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, sir. Evans, how are you?
I'm doing great. We just heard Bernard Mona disappointed at the conduct of the former president. He says they came before him, the resistance. He said nothing outside that private meeting. But here he is when he was presented with another petition in favor of compiling a new voters register, speaking and challenging the resistance to not resort to militants and rather go to court. What's your reaction to the points they made there about seeming double standard?
Evans, good afternoon. It's true that Bernard Mona led a group of agitators to here about 2 weeks ago, and their beef was that they were against the electoral commissioner compiling a new voters register. They brought President Kufuor a petition, and he told them that at that particular point he will not give them an answer, but he will take the petition and study it. But he told them that whatever they do, they should make sure that they will ensure what do you call it, militancy, and that they should be lawful. And especially he was admonishing them among them that if they become militant and they plunge this country into chaos, it affects them more than the elderly people, because like the adage goes, we say that the future belongs to the youth. So therefore he told them that if they mess up the future of this country, it is them who will suffer the most. Therefore he told them to make sure whatever they do, they ensure militancy. Okay. And then 2 days ago or whatever, another group came and visited. Are you there?
I'm listening to you, sir.
Okay. Another group also came and also visited him. And their beef was also that they support the Electoral Commission compiling a new voters register. So they came there to put it across to them. We also listened to them. And then in that situation, there we are. We have one group which came to him not opposing the new register, and another group that came to him supporting the voters register. Is he going to choose from the two of them? No. So he told them that at this point, whoever does not follow, whoever does not endorse what the Electoral Commission is doing should have to go to court to get it settled.
But the whoever in that phrase refers to Bernard Mona and his group. I wonder, did he make this point to Bernard Mona and his group when he met them? Because he had an opportunity to meet them.
He told them that whatever they do, they should respect the Constitution. And they were alluding to the fact that there are conventions, but he made it critically to them that conventions cannot subsume what the Constitution says. Conventions sometimes help the law, but the law is supreme. Therefore, whatever conventions have been in the past or whatever, it cannot override what the law says, the law which is the Constitution, which says the Electoral Commission is the body that is mandated to conduct elections, and they're supposed to be independent. So it's apparent in that statement that if they don't agree with the Electoral Commission, they have to resort to the law court.
I hear you say it was apparent in that statement, but did he say it to their faces? Because they met him. Did he say to their faces that they should resort to the Supreme Court?
He told them they should resort to the law, the Constitution. He didn't tell them to go to the Supreme Court, but he told them to resort to the law, which is the Constitution. And I suppose that they read and they do understand the law, which says the Electoral Commission is independent. Therefore, nobody can impose their will on the Electoral Commission.
So let's put this bluntly. Is the former president in favor of the EC's decision to compile the new voters register?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know. But I assume that from the way he said that, and the fact that he believed that the Electoral Commission is independent and that nobody can impose his or her will on the Electoral Commission. Therefore, for the Electoral Commission, if it is not evidently clear that it's wrong, then he must support them.
Okay, so if his position, from what you're saying, just to clarify, if his position is that you cannot impose your will on the Electoral Commission has the independence to act within the confines of the law, and of course, compiling the new voters register is within the confines, then of course, then the EC has every right to compile a new voters register if they so believe it's within their mandate, and that is his position as a former president.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
I mean, so another question that he raised. When he met with the resistance, he chose not to speak beyond the confines of that private meeting. However, in this meeting with this group that says they wanted, he then decides to change that particular principle and offer and grant interviews beyond the confines of that interview. Why?
No, theirs was also recorded. Theirs was recorded. It was even longer than the last one. They had about an hour and a half interaction with him, and it was recorded. I even put it on YouTube.
Dr. Before we sent a reporter as part of that delegation that met him with the resistance. They were not allowed into this meeting, and the former president did not grant media interviews after he met the group.
I don't believe anybody requested a media interview because they knew that it was being recorded. I don't remember anybody requesting a media interview and was rebuffed or something like that. No, I was part of the meeting. In any case, what you're trying to say is you have an adage like whoever goes to court first should be the rightful person. No, the fact that they came first doesn't mean that they are right. They have come. Another group opposing them has also come. In that case, the middle way is let's have interpretation of whoever is so much aggrieved. Let us have a Supreme Court interpret what the Constitution says. I believe that is the fairest and the most legitimate, statement to make. If the first group is so sure that they are right, then they should have the interpretation from the Supreme Court, and they will be affirmed. If not, then they have to prove that the Electoral Commission is wrong, and you can only prove that if you go to the Supreme Court to seek a dedication of the situation.
I'm grateful, Dr. Kabana Osei Edubofo. He speaks for the former President John Ajekum Kufuor. I want to bring in now the Director of IT for the NDC, Mr. Osei Kwame Griffiths. He led the delegation from the NDC side that went into that meeting with the Electoral Commission. He joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Griffiths, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we even come to the meeting today and the walkout, let me ask you this. Isn't it clear by now that this continual resistance is, to put it mildly, an exercise in futility, and that you should be considering changing strategy in this matter? In fact, former President Kufuor is saying that you should just go to court and challenge this matter in a court of competent jurisdiction.
Well, that is his view on the matter. We believe that the issue, and by all means, I'm sure there's a legal team that is looking at this. We are not saying that the EC has no right to do A, B, or C. What we are saying is that, first of all, the reasons they have given for the compilation of a new register are that there are some issues with the current system. Those issues are non-existent, and we have proved that. They said their operating systems were obsolete, and they themselves stated in their press conference that they are using Enterprise Linux 5.8, which is not obsolete. If you go to the Red Hat Linux website, it is clearly there that it was released in 2012.
I mean,
so they are facts.
Okay. In truth, these arguments have been made over and over. I mean, in fact, overflocked. Let's talk about what happened today.
Yes.
You were invited for a meeting, and from what we're hearing, there was a walkout. The EC genuinely wanted to meet you, so I'm struggling to understand why there was an issue that had to force you to walk out of that meeting.
you are concluding that the EC genuinely wanted to meet.
They did not.
That is the conclusion that you have made.
They did not.
Let me tell you what actually happened. It was based on our presentation as the Eminent Advisory Committee, which the EC themselves put together, that there was a need for these technical brains across the country to be put together to come and help the EC define the way forward. It is important for us to make that very clear, to define the way forward. Now, we went into this meeting thinking that we were going to deliberate on whether the old system was possible to use, which is the safest way for this nation to go into election 2020. We went there, and at that meeting, the person chairing the meeting, which was Dr. J, the medical doctor, with a passion for IT, indicated that the decision is already made.
But that's not a surprise. They've always said this, even in public gathering.
Well, they said this when we went to the Evidence Advisory Committee. We still made a case, and it still triggered the need for the technical people to come and sit together, which means that the Eminent Advisory Committee didn't think that there was no need for us to still deliberate and come up with a decision. Otherwise, they wouldn't have asked for this. So if we go into a meeting for which you have called us, and then you tell us that a decision on what we are about to discuss is already made, then what is the use? And then any issue they brought up, when we indicated, for example, they started with their wide area network. When we indicated the issues with what they are doing, they said, oh, we have already decommissioned the old one, so there's no going back. Fait accompli. He used the word fait accompli. So you see, the point we made today is to make it clear to the EC that if that is what you are doing, then we are not in the same boat with you.
Yeah.
You understand?
But you've never been in the same boat with the EC, have you?
Oh, we have on several occasions been in the same boat.
On this matter of the voters register, you've never been.
Yes. No, we haven't. In fact, this current leadership of EC, remember, we were not in the same boat with them when they said we were going to use the online system to register, only the online system to do the limited registration. We said that it will fail. It wasn't meant for mass registration. These same political parties supporting them and cheering them supported them on that matter, and they failed. When they went into mass registration, the continuous registration, the limited registration, it turned out that there was a total breakdown of the online system nationwide. So they quickly had to bring in the offline ones, which they had rejected. So we were on the right side. This same group were on the wrong side. When the EC said that they were expecting to register only 300,000, we said they were wrong. This same group of people who are cheering them on now supported them and told them they were right.
Well, today you have been told emphatically that this is fait accompli. You walked out. What next?
Well, the point is that we don't believe that the Eminent Advisory Committee had in mind that the decision had been made.
Well, but are you relying on advisory eminent committee or the EC's work?
Let me tell you something else.
Mm-hmm.
I am very confident that I was giving you a history of things that we have said. At least I had 4 of things that we have said. They were wrong, and they insisted they were right, and they were humbled by the challenges. You see, and this time we are saying that this is even worse than the first 3 things that.
Yeah, but you've been told today is fait accompli. My question is, what will you do?
Well, what would I do? You are a Ghanaian. I am also a Ghanaian. We are going into an election in 9.5 months. The group that won the bid fails. They are saying they need 84 days to bring the equipment into the country, and their own documentation, which they have sent to the Electoral Commission. If you check the RFP evaluation report, page 27, it is there. They say they need 84 days to bring the equipment into the country. Why is the EC saying they will start registration on the 18th of April.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've made all these arguments to the Electoral Commission already. And they still told you today it's fait accompli. You still have to answer the question about
I took that from the doctor who has become doctor with a passion for IT.
He's the man leading the IT part of the ET. So when he speaks, is the EC speaking. I'm asking you, you've been told today.
Well, I have a meeting to report to tell my superiors what we have heard today. First of all, I took advice before. I didn't take it on my own. I took advice before we worked out of the place because we believed that was not the meeting that we were invited to. So we walked out of the place. And then we have, we are also going to bring to light the issues, even more things that have emerged. The fact that the company that won the bid is now saying exclusive of taxes and local duties, it is $70 million. When the EC said they were procuring at $56 million and therefore saving the nation $18 million. So it turns out that is a lie. You see, so all these things will be brought to light. So the discussion goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Mr. Griffiths, I'm grateful that you joined me. That is Mr. Osei Kwame Griffiths. He is Director of IT for the NDC. Coming up on Newsnight in 2 minutes, MFR Power, what should we expect?
To Parliament, there's been some talk about Mr. Brian Champon's appointment, and then also Ghana is to quarantine all passengers traveling from coronavirus epicenter in China. We'll also